all just waiting to hear them roar or to hear them boo, as some will do. So an absolutely incredible matchup. FaZe struggled yesterday against Map1. A lot of people, I think, speculated that FaZe would be able to coast on through, but it wasn't in the cards. It took a lot of work for FaZe to get there. And for Nora Rengo, well, they struggled in the beginning against Rogue, but then seemed to find their momentum after that and carried onwards. I think both of the way that these teams play will be an incredible matchup today. Probably the most firepower that we have seen in a Pro League match in ages.
Yeah, absolutely accurate. I think the standout for both of these teams, the thing that really makes them pop is their frag potential. They're just individual gun skill. And the synergy, I think, is going to be the thing that dictates who wins and loses. You know, which team is going to be able to, as a unit, use that skill to their advantage. You see the bands coming out here, and some interesting ones, actually. The Habana, pretty predictable. The Glaz makes sense on pretty much any map, I suppose. Vigil, it's a little bit different. You don't see a Vigil band very often, but on a map like Bank, I guess it's sensible. I mean, one of the better roamers out there, and this is definitely a roam-heavy map.
Yeah, Vigil is interesting. He's usually a target ban against teams. Same with what we see out of Alibi. Every now and then we'll see an Alibi ban. It's usually done against teams that you know will run Alibi a lot, and it's because there's a certain strategy around it. We've seen Alibi bans on Bank, actually, against an opponent of FaZe that we see quite regularly, Ninjas in Pajamas. Why? Because that's part of their overarching strategy. They do the same thing on Oregon. But what this means is that there will not be a Lion ban, and FaZe will waste no time picking that Lion immediately. Now, you know he likes to play shields. He's going to 6-pick off to the Montaigne. We saw him with a bit of flexibility yesterday playing the Finca pick, and it worked quite well on a variety of strategies. Didn't work so well in Clubhouse Oregon. It did pretty okay and helped FaZe mark their comeback here. And the very first round of defense for Nora Rengo, they're going to go downstairs. Now, also interesting to note, there's no Mira ban. So what seems to be a pattern that has emerged over these finals is that Mira, who inhabited the role of most banned defensive operator during the regular season, is going to lose that title. It looks like Echo actually is going to be one of the most banned defensive operators so far through the 4 matches we've had, and it'll be no different as he's banned yet again. Interestingly, both FaZe and Nora Rengo used every single one of their defensive bans to ban Echo in their last 2 matches. So somebody had to ban him, and somebody had to figure out, well, you saw FaZe there, he banned Vigil. Well, that's because FaZe is only banning Echo. Well, Nora Rengo banned Echo, so FaZe had an opportunity to ban someone else.
It's also quite interesting that we see Nora now trying to bring in Maestro. One thing to note is that in Nora's match yesterday, they didn't have Maestro ban 2 of the 3 maps, and still, Nora didn't really bring that LMG-equipped defender very much. So they've decided to bring him here, but there's no Mira. So it's always a concession of some sort, it seems, with Nora, and instead they choose to bring off operators, things like Castle, for example, who can be very useful if used correctly, but isn't, I suppose, as universally useful as an operator like Mira, for example, especially not on a basement defense such as this. Now, Waka going to be playing with the Spaz on those server stairs. That is a very powerful position that we've seen used many times before. In a lot of regions, you'll have a Mute up there with a shotgun. You'll have an Ella up there with a shotgun. It really depends. We've seen even Jaegers up there with M870s before, and Bandits too. So it's a position that you can hold because you know that there's no bullet penetration around you. You don't have to worry about getting peeked, and that shotgun's not going to do much work. Astro expending some of his utility in order to push out Waka, and the Valkyrie inside of those CCTV stairs will fall. But there's another shotgun not too far off. Raisel waiting just by that doorway, sees the blood spatter from his teammate, and just below is Papillia has that carbine in his hands. Evading a flash is Raisel, and keep in mind, that shotgun is almost an insta-kill, but the smoke is going to be in for a world of hurt. He gets concussed, flashed. You're going to have the Lion go off too and freeze him in place, and Astro just waiting to dive in. There he is, Astro looking for 2, he'll get shut down from Papillia, and the Jaeger will just scoot away. 25 HP with the Montaigne not too far off. Yuna just stands like a statue in that doorway. And this is a problem for Nora Rengo because they've got JJ right now inside of the garage who will have to get back to site unless he hopes that those Evil Eyes can do the trick. Astro was lost in the clear, but you gotta say that was a success for FaZe. And they have a soft wall to work against right now. No soft destruction, but they're gonna plant behind the Montaigne instead, using the EE1D as cover. Cameraman through the wall will take down to Papilia, and Moringa takes out Mariu as well. JJ, the final defender, spraying, looking for some frags, but at this point, with the Montaigne right in front of him, this is an unwinnable situation. There's very little chance that he's going to be able to kill all of these attackers, but the Montaigne takes a risk and loses his life because of it. Not finished off quite yet, but certainly not going to help very much in this round. Sprays from the Blackbeard do the damage, but Moringa gets the final shot, and FaZe take the first round.
The way Yuna played that was so well done. All he needed to really do was just stand in the doorway between the metal bars and not move a muscle, and that round pretty much goes in favor because the Maestro had no rotate. At least it didn't look like it. There was a hole in the wall. I don't know if they made that so that you could vault through it or not. But basically had JJ locked down at that point, and bailing out his teammates was not an option earlier on. Unfortunately for Nora Rengo, they fell into a very similar trap that I feel that we saw from Immortals yesterday on Bank, was that you don't load up on C4s, nor do you have a C4 available to be expended and take out anybody who goes for the plant. Now, of course, they did have one C4 on the board. It was the Valkyrie, but the Valkyrie was playing on the stairs and died early on. That's a problem, and there's going to be a course correction here from Nora Rengo. Number one, they're going to go up top to CEO, and number two, they're going to bring some ACOGs, and they're not going to make the mistake of foregoing Amira up top.
Yeah, and not only was the Valkyrie the first one to die and on the stairs far from the site with that C4, you know, Smoke was the second. So you're talking about your two main denial operators no longer with you. You've got the Maestro Evil Eyes, of course, but it's definitely not as potent, especially considering they can be easily countered by Sophia Lifeline or anything of the sort. You know, we'll see, though, as Nora sets themselves up on the top floor. They have brought what we would have expected to see in the first round, as you talked about, the Mira. Going to be just as potent upstairs. CEO, definitely a good site to work with, especially if you're bringing a castle and you can counter those angles all the way from the garage. Which you can see over by Banana, that's exactly what's going on with the castle barricades. Pill's going to be playing on that angle as well, using his ACOG along with Mariu. And we haven't seen I don't think we've seen a Rook-Doc combination in a good long time. It used to be meta, I mean, back in the day when you could have 5 ACOGs on a defense and they didn't have to be 3 armors. But it's not really something that shines through these days. It's a bit odd that Nora has decided to bring this lineup. Again, you know, still Maestro in play. That's a potential option, but I guess they want the other utility that these 3 armors offer.
Both of these teams were undefeated in the regular season over the last 6 months on Bank. Of course, the sample size for FaZe is lower. Nora Rengo was 4-0 on Bank. But I just want to take a moment to just raise 3 points with that defense. Number one, you bring one C4 and you basically waste it on the stairs. Number two, your Smoke, who is your plant denial after that C4 is gone, then also moves to the stairs. And number three, your ACOG that could possibly engage from long range that is sitting inside of garage didn't rotate at all when the call was made. All 3 of these things, a very puzzling way of dealing with it. However, FaZe wasting no time, taking a minute to just dive right into the main lobby, and actually a rare miss from Astro, as there goes the Lion, and concussive blasts from Astro, trying to pin one down. A great shot on a Papilia over top of the deployable shield. He'll thread that needle, just a tiny angle to go through. Astro adopting the super alias, and he'll pick up a second on Nawaka. FaZe just right now cannot be contained at all. Great drone work to figure out where the Rook is as well, and Mariu could be next one up. The cameraman taking out JJ, and it's falling apart for the time being. Mariu looking through the windows over by the office, trying to get somebody down, but he'll be frozen in place as there goes a Lion charge. It'll hold everyone in. Another ping goes out, and they are just waiting for this storm.
You talked about how Astro is able to use that super tag, and he's gonna get another one, certainly proving his alias true. The run up from Raysil will net a kill onto Mav, but obviously, as I'm sure he knows, the round is over at this point. Moringa gets the final kill, and FaZe put 2 together. Something that is, I think, as clear to you guys as it is to us. Nora does not know how to deal with that Montaigne. Not Not even slightly. They are struggling. As soon as the shield operator gets in front of them, there's really nothing that Nora can do but fall back. And as they transition, they're being fragged by Astro, who is just behind.
I don't think a single shield was brought from Rogue yesterday, and this is not something that maybe we think that Nora is capable of dealing with on an international level. Now, obviously, they played against shields in APAC, but playing well in your region does not exactly translate. And I mean, look no further than FaZe, who almost always seemingly wins in their region, but can't seem to do that outside. Well, the same can be said with Nora Rengo and their success on shields.
I am truly perplexed by the operator selection from Nora Rengo right now. They're bringing the Legion, and I'm sure that, that to me just screams shield counter. Bring a Legion, you're going to do a little bit of damage. Understood, bring. But they're bringing an alibi in lieu of a Mira. What's the thought process there? You need that C4, you need that window to help you counter the pushing from server. And as FaZe has already proven to you, they are going for a very standard server push, relying on holding the server stairs when facing a shield combined with a Zofia. It's not an easy thing to do. And I feel as though Nora is making this quite a lot more difficult for themselves than it needs to be. But we'll see how it plays out this round. They're going to be going for a heavier roam strategy, as is clear from their setup, reinforcing that wall by the lone office so they can cover their retreat once they eventually commit to it down the main stairs. Lots of shutterbugs, as they're called with the elite skin, but just Valkyrie cams setting up around the top and middle floor to gather information. But the information goes both ways, it seems, as Mav drone in a perfect position to gather info on the open area.
Once again, just wanted, for those of you who didn't tune into the broadcast yesterday, you might see a GG logo down in the bottom right corner. That is Siege GG. They're doing stat tracking for us this event, and they do incredible work. Of course, Spencer his in-game alias is Spleck, is the one that's doing that, and he's been an incredible help and asset so far in order to keep track of all of the different kills and headshots, operator picks, etc. And it really helps round out the broadcast, especially on the analyst desk. So just want to pay some credit to Siege GG there for all the work that they've done so far here in Rio, especially by giving you these pop-ups. Third round in a row, Astro's gonna get the lead off kill. Mariu falls, and he's gonna go for a second, but he dives on top of Papilia, and he'll get absolutely slapped, quite literally, as Papilia pulls out the knife and will take Astro down. And that's the hottest gun on FaZe Clan side of things, at least through these 2 rounds, who will have to sit on the bench for another minute and 40.
That's definitely an impact frag there for Papilia, but at the same time, you already lost Mariu. The Valkyrie, of course, already going to have that utility down, and thus it will be useful, but still a body lost, and a C4 as well. Now, Yuna clearing out the open area, using the second E1D to do so. Waka's going to take down Moringa, so that's the Thermite gone. This roam seems to be working out pretty well for Nora, though this could still be recovered easily, considering that most of those Nora roamers are still just sticking to their positions upstairs. They could be hunted down, but FaZe Clan, I think, are a little bit distracted. You notice how they're droning out the site, and yet there are still 2 Nora roamers nowhere near the site. Racio will be felled by Mav, though. That's a good start in this clear. Papilia takes out Mav in response, so it's a back and forth. Nora's not letting their lead slip away. JJ pushing his way up the main stairs, trying to hunt down the Montaigne, who's fighting with his teammate right now just above. Waka, though, he's going to win that one out using the shotgun pistol. Yuna goes down. Cameraman, the last attacker, will take down JJ, and he's starting to fight the meeting hall, but he's not going to check. Oh, no, a second shotgun pistol for Waka. And Nora take the round, their first one in the series.
You see that crouching from Waka being a massive issue for the Montaigne to deal with, trying to hit that bobbing, moving target. Up, down, up, down, up, down, as Waka evaded almost half of the bullets that were coming out of the pistol of the Montaigne and getting away with just 1 HP. And then the cameraman not checking next to the desk. Excellent play from Nora Rengo, though. They played extremely aggressively and had very little coverage on site. Once again, they lost their smoke and their Valkyrie early. Those are your 2 best operators for plant denial when you looked at that lineup. You have an Alibi. Alibi doesn't have a C4. You know, you have an Ella. Ela doesn't have a C4. So yes, Ela can throw her mines and stop you if you're in a plant. And also knock the Montaigne out of his shield. That's valuable. But that's not the way they were playing it. They basically had a full court press. They played as aggressively as they could on defense. And FaZe just kept getting picked apart. They kept getting engaged in 1v1s, which was something that Map1 did quite well in the matchup yesterday, was that Map1 kept taking 1v1 fights and FaZe kept losing. It wasn't until FaZe realized, hey, let's drone them out and isolate their players playing by themselves, and then push them together, that everything started to fall into place. If Nora Rengo can continually isolate FaZe's entry players, and that's going to bode well for the Japanese team.
And I think that's one thing that really shocked me. You know, when I'm talking about this round, that last round at the beginning, I was marking on how Nora aren't bringing, you know, what you would expect when defending the basement. The reason being, you know, you want to play that meta, try to counter FaZe. And in my head, the reason I would say you want to do that is that FaZe is probably going to be decently efficient at clearing out your roamers. But no, not in that round. FaZe got discombobulated. They had no idea what was going on. They were all over the place. I mean, trying to drone the site while clearing out the roamers at a man disadvantage. A truly confusing round from FaZe, and I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. I don't think they're going to make that mistake again. But it's definitely a risk. Interesting setup here from Nora. They're going to be putting some Valkyrie cams, 2 Valkyrie cams by the square skylight area, and they've put their mirror window in a position that is kind of exposed to the hallway. So I'm guessing they're relying on either A, just falling back very quickly, or B, holding that hallway, which makes sense. It's definitely not impossible to hold, but it's a different setup than what you usually see up on this top floor. Of course, they're defending the bottom floor, so this is just the roamers. They're just trying to delay as much as they can. But Yuna on that Montaigne, once more, a force to be reckoned with.
As long as FaZe doesn't have Yuna pushing in all on his lonesome, then they have a lot of success with this Montaigne, especially if they can time it with the rest of this team, along with Astro's disruption and then the Lion charges. I mean, obviously you can chain all those together quite effectively, but if Yuna's going in solo, he can often be punished quite easily. Oh, JJ from below on sight will out-aim Astro. Beautiful headshot with the Vector will fell the Zofia. Round 4 will start with its very first casualty. Even though JJ losing some HP, it's an advantage in favor of Nora Rengo.
Whether Astro's getting the kills or the deaths at the very beginning of the round, he is almost always at the very beginning. EE1D will pop off, but so does the C4 from JJ. That's what the cameras were for, and cameraman himself goes down. Yuna looking to push in, but the gas canisters are stopping him. Mav on IQ being brought in an attempt to delay the C4 for the Montaigne or the gas canisters, but it's not really helping out as much as I think FaZe wants it to. Mav's just holding the flank, waiting for his teammates to push in. And again, uncharacteristically, FaZe is struggling to clear out these roamers. Waka will finally C4 Mav through the drop down. And Yuna will refrag onto Mariu using that shield to his advantage. I think ADSing there. Surprised he got the kill. Impressive, though, that he managed it. And finally, FaZe have control of top floor, but at what cost?
I mean, you've still got your 2 exothermic charges, but being able to pull off and execute with those exothermic charges and a Montaigne is going to be very difficult. A good snipe from Yuna, but no, JJ will be there, and the pistol will miss its shots. JJ picks up his 3rd kill of the round, and from below, Thermite, a beautiful shot. Marengo eliminating Papilia down inside of the staff area, but 20 seconds left. There will be many guns looking at the limited entry points for this Thermite to go in, and surely his position has been called. We saw Marengo with a number of clutches against Map1 yesterday, but this will be a tense moment as he runs in, doesn't make it far. Waka outduels anybody on any game, on any day of the week, even when you're firing at him, but that's an easy kill for Waka as well. Thermite was looking the other way. 2-2.
So Nora putting 2 together in response to FaZe's initial 2. And they can make this work still. The half yet to be decided. CEO will be the ground in which it is. JJ, I think something that, a trait that really stands out to me about JJ and something that he highlighted in this round is that he hits a lot of those shots that you just don't think he should be able to, especially when he's playing Mira. We saw that yesterday, we string it now today. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was JJ's a heck of a player, and the rest of the team, no slouches as well. The stats reflected that when we were looking at them heading into the match, was that wasn't really anybody on the team who rose above another member. Obviously, there were players such as Waka and Mariu who had the highest differential. I believe Mariu had the highest on the entire team.
Yes.
But you had Papilia and Raisel come alive on Coastline in that final matchup. You had JJ get, I believe it was 0 kills. I think it was the first map.
His differential wasn't great. But I think it was Wilkie who pointed out impact frags.
And impact frags are very important. Obviously, you don't get any impact frags when you have 0 frags. But you look at the other 2 maps.
They won the series.
And they ended up winning the series. And the one thing with Nora Rengo is they have a lot of depth. If one of their players goes quiet, then that's okay. You know, we said on the very first map against Rogue on Consulate that when Waka went quiet, the rest of the team did as well. But they picked it up for maps 2 and 3, and that's a lot of depth. FaZe has depth too, don't get me wrong, but ever since they made the roster change, dropping Gohan and picking up Yuna, a lot of this team has revolved around fragging power from Astro and Mav and somewhat Cameraman. If Mav or Astro goes quiet, FaZe struggles. That's what we saw in the Mocket matchup. And Moringa did an excellent job after that cheeky smoke ban on the very first map on Oregon. Did an excellent job on a fragging roll, but that was a rare instance where you banned a smoke. That doesn't happen in every single match.
One thing I really want to point out here is that FaZe Clan have been bringing the Montaigne, and from my account, I think Montaigne has been incredibly useful so far for FaZe, and yet they've lost 2 rounds on attack. And I feel as though that power that the Montaigne is bringing to FaZe's attack, the fact that it forced Nora to adapt, and adapt they did, but it forced them to change their strategy specifically to account for how FaZe is playing. There should be, I think, it should be a little bit more in favor of FaZe right now than it is. The fact that the scoreline is even surprises me somewhat. And if Nora is able to take this last round, I think it's a really bad start for FaZe, and they're going to have to make up for it on the second half.
It took 2 bouts of explosives just to get one thing of barbed wire that was likely used to ensnare Yuna. He'll be popped out of his fully extended shield as Astro will, for the second time on the same site, miss one of those concussive blasts.
And here's a big difference. We don't have Papilla playing in the hallway anymore. He's not leaving himself exposed, which means no early losses for Nora.
We'll check inside of the desk in a position that we have referred to as banana many times, and, well, there's nobody home. So unless FaZe is putting in great work with the drone play, Nora Rengo is going to remain elusive, at least for the time being. They'll burn one of the EODs just to try and buy themselves some time, and Astro will narrowly miss the feet. I believe it was the castle of Raisel playing just behind his barricade. You've got 2 ACOGs positioned, waiting for those long angles of FaZe Clan to engage with. And then, of course, you've got the Mira of Waka on the main stairs. A C4 will go out, and it will miss. No target at all. Papilia now waiting to try and engage with Mav. Mav does have a rifle shield mounted on top of his gun, but the MP5 is very formidable. Not enough, though. Mav will win that fight on a Papilia. A clean shot, and Mav will thank his lucky stars due to said face shield. Cameraman picking up a second kill on his own, and an EU1D will just hold Nora Rengo down. A 5v3 advantage of FaZe, but there's not a lot of time left. This can get messy in the dying seconds. Raisel comes up on a flank. He'll take one down. Will not get farther. Oh, no, Mav, a team kill after Cameraman gets one, and it'll be a 3v2. 10 seconds left. Mariu and Waka, and engaging with the Montaigne. Mav will be there picking up yet another frag. Waka will need to come back to sight. All he needs to do is stop that defuse. He'll be greeted by a Montaigne trying to rush past the diffuser. Waka will do it. He Yuna cannot cover. What an insane play from Waka. Excellent movement, and he will secure the round for his team.
Incredible clutch for Waka. All alone against 3, and it looked lost. But he manages to pull it out. I cannot believe he was allowed to do that. Yuna, huge mistakes on the Montaigne. If ever there was a moment to get ferocious, maybe drop the shield, go for a melee, that was it. 0-0-0 on the clock. He must not have noticed that the time was so scarce.
I mean, all of that started to fall apart. We just saw it. All of that started to fall apart when Mav took down Cameraman, who was holding on to that diffuser.
Yeah.
He prompted the Blackbeard to have to pick it up and shuffle inside of the site and go for the plant. That team kill doesn't happen. You end up with an even larger numbers advantage, and you have that coverage where you don't just have to stick a Montaigne in a double doorway. You can't cover that whole area.
And at the very beginning, Astro missing all of his lifelines. Because those lifelines were missed, not only did it slow down your Montaigne because it took down the Montaigne shield, but also it slowed down the entire push because you did not know whether there was somebody in the corner or not. The proximity detonation of that lifeline is one of the most valuable parts of it in terms of utility. It allows you to instantly drone an area without actually taking time out to drone it. And that didn't happen, so they didn't know the corner was clear, so they slowed it down. And what's one thing that really stands out to me in that round? Incredibly slow take from FaZe. I mean, they would have won that round still if they had just been a little bit more efficient on the initial take. But no, they were too methodical, and because of that, at the very end, the defuse not being planted, being stopped by Waka, ended up costing them the round. So lots of things going wrong there for FaZe Clan, and now they will transition on to defense, starting up in CEO.
A round that under almost any other circumstances should have gone in favor of the team that's planting, but yeah, Waka playing that absolutely beautifully and second-guessing himself before coming back into the site. So now we switch sides, and Nora Rengo will be gifted the opportunity to attack. You put Mario on Ash, and scary things typically happen, and that's exactly what we're going to start with. As for FaZe, well, you look down, and they've got a lineup that doesn't really strike you as that odd for the site that you're going to defend on. You've got double C4s, you've got Plant and Isle Moringa on smoke, is pretty traditional when you don't ban it. Like I mentioned earlier, the Germans mock it, did just that yesterday. Then you got the castle barricades to slow everybody down. The only thing that is a little strange is that there's a Thatcher who hasn't seen a ton of play so far on this, on the previous day and on LAN. Almost odd.
Yeah, I mean, Thatcher's a very powerful operator, but I think we've been seeing more IQ even than Thatcher, I would venture a guess. But here you go, clearing out the ADSs, allowing for the EMP to go in. And in fact, I believe it was 2 EMPs that were used there to clear out 1 ADS, so that might have been a bit of a waste, but it will at least get some electronics, I'm sure. Sounded like a thermite charge, and yes, indeed it was on the east wall, the northeast wall from Square Skylight. We now have access to the site for Nora. They don't have a Montaigne to work with. They're not bringing him like FaZe Clan did, but they do have their raw fragging capabilities that we have seen Nora highlight time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, they've opened up the wall of CEO inside of A as well. That's going to cause a lot of discomfort for FaZe, and they force them back, as you can see their position right now. This is very typical FaZe. They've got 3 people playing off-site with a minute to go, and they might just stick down there the entire time. Yuna inside of the long table conference room is going to be playing both of those mirrors, just trying to keep as much information as possible. He's got the solid wall next to him, so he doesn't need to worry about being pushed from Waka, who's burned both of his frag grenades earlier as well. One
thing that really worries me is that, you know, despite Nora not knowing it, JJ could easily right now just walk into the site and plant. The mirror window probably has line of sight, but would not be able to shoot through the actual bomb itself. The A bomb will provide cover, as will the smokes.
And I don't know if Nora Rengo is aware of where the members of FaZe are. Map getting calls. There's a C4 from Yuna. Great toss. Mariu sprays down cameraman. Astro trades it off the Jaeger. It's not going to be found. It picks up his second on the Papilia. FaZe with a rally that will put Nora Rengo on their heels with 15 seconds to go. They will have to rappel in and fetch that diffuser, but Waka will be denied. Moringa is there, and then Yuna finishing it off as he started things. FaZe will refine their footing, gain that momentum back, and tie it up 3-3.
So it all went wrong there for Nora Rengo. They had everything set up properly, but we're not watching the right angles at the right time, allowing the mirror to rotate from meeting into electrical, which enabled the C4 to be tossed. And then following that, Astro just walking down the main hallway, getting 2 frags on the flank. It needs to be a flank watch. There needs to be somebody to watch Yuna on this push that which was just highlighted for you. Mario did take down cameraman and the flank, but it just wasn't enough because here you go. There's Astro. Just, I think, a very shocking round from Nora. They seemed to not have a firm grasp when they committed to the push, and maybe, just maybe, the call was a little too early and they needed more time to set themselves up, because I mean, in Mario's case, it looked like he was still getting into position by the main hallway. Yeah, there was not a lot of time there, and I'm a bit surprised at the way that Nora Rengo played that. So they used the 2 EMPs poorly to burn an ADS. True.
That EMP can get you a lot more value. I mean, but if you looked at FaZe Clan's lineup, they didn't really have anything that needed to be burned by ADSs, let's be honest, or burned by the EMPs. They had what? They had the 3 ADSs, then they had a Castle, then they had a Mira, then they had a Valkyrie, and then they had a Smoke. Outside of Evil Eye cams, which typically EMPs will just disable, they're not going to break, and you need to shoot them anyway. Thatcher isn't going to get a lot of usage, and I think Nora Rengo understands that. They've subbed off of the Thatcher, they'll go with the Lion instead. It's a smart move for Nora Rengo. But then immediately, the first Jackal ping comes out, and it's a bit of a mistime from Nora Rengo. Not even a cooked grenade from Waka. He just tosses in both of those frags without much consideration, and they don't find any targets. No damage is done. FaZe manages to evacuate the site, and now you've just taken 2 frag grenades that can have so much value when you're trying to go for your execute, and you've wasted them early on. That was a mistake. With the Lion, I think they'll gain a bit more usage out of the rest of this lineup because it will enable Mariu and the rest of the team to frag better, as obviously Lion will paralyze you and keep you in position.
Yep, that red light really is incredibly powerful. Has been for a long time. But again, you know, we got to go back to the fact that he wasn't banned. Just something a little bit odd you don't see every day. But given who was banned, Hibana on Bank makes sense, Glaz makes sense anywhere, pretty much the same as Lion. Now, Nora pushing their way into the top floor, and it doesn't seem like FaZe is looking to contend the top floor at all. They're just playing primarily downstairs. Pretty smart call, I would say, considering how efficient Nora was at clearing out the roamers from Rogue yesterday. Because I think one of the things that we touched on, Rogue, every time they had somebody roaming, Nora shuts him down, just wins that fight, and those roamers accomplish nothing. And FaZe playing safe in sight on defense, I think it screams study, and it's definitely the right call.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at the way that the bans work, too, you mentioned Lion here. Nora Rengo has banned Glaz and Echo every single game they've played. They're now 4 for 4 on those 2 bans. FaZe banned Lion twice, and Rogue banned Lion every single time. So Nora Rengo didn't have to deal with Lion whatsoever against Rogue. And then when you look at this match in particular, because FaZe typically has banned Hibana on Bank, which they did against Mocket, you're kind of pinched as FaZe. You're going to ban Hibana. That leaves Lion open. And then Nora Rengo always banning Glaz. That's what allowed the operator to reign here. So Nora Rengo taking control of the hatches from above. Of course, with no Hibana, you might need to bring a Maverick. Nora Rengo doesn't have that. We saw some teams have run Maverick here just to try and get a secondary hard breach or a goal. That's a great grenade here, and it'll get it. Waka dumps it down, perfectly placed, and Moringa cannot escape that explosive toss. That'll eliminate the smoke, and plant denial will be at least reduced for the time being. But in typical fashion, there's going to be a pulse playing inside of the vault, just giving all the information that is needed. Yuna lying below with a C4 in hand, and that could possibly do some good work. Yuna will survive a secondary frag grenade, and that will be it for the explosives from Nora Rengo.
Well, still plenty of explosives in hand for FaZe, though, as you stated. Waka has pushed his way in to cover the plant, but it's not going to happen. Camera eliminates him, and Yuna gets the C4 to JJ, denying the initial plant. Astro also takes down Papilla, so it's all up to Mariu and Ray. Ray's going to get 2, but Astro 1 more for him onto Mariu from the entry. JJ a Claymore kill. Now it's a 1 versus 1. And Ray is going to go for the defuse plant. He doesn't have a choice. Mav has the round in hand, and he will taunt it, taking it easily, all thanks to time.
That Claymore almost saving the round for Nora Rengo, and I can imagine that there's a lot of relief right now on that FaZe bench. That went from a 2v1. That's scary if you're a FaZe fan and the way that that works out. Overall, an excellent start for Nora Rengo. They seem to have so much going in their favor, and then FaZe, a much stronger counterpunch. Excellently timed. Once again, Astro just doing what Astro does time and time again, shutting everybody down. One of the best pure aimers in this game for the moment. And then, of course, as cameraman situated, he gets the kill onto Waka, which allows Yuna to toss out the C4.
Absolutely. Now, Teller's defense for FaZe. The site has yet to be touched by the Brazilians, but still a formidable one. It started with CEO, that went great. Basement, just as well. something that you noted is that very typical what FaZe brought out, plenty of counter plant. The C4, the Evil Eyes, you know, everything that was really available, they had it available with the gas canisters and all that. Atypical for Nora. Nora has been, you know, when they were on defense of the basement especially, they have been straying away from that mentality. And one time it did work for them. They did manage to win a single basement defense. In fact, it was the first round that they actually won, but it was because they were roaming heavily. So there is, I think, a stark contrast between these two teams, and that's something that makes this match even more interesting and exciting. Typical Mira window setup here from FaZe, both in meeting hall, just giving yourself that little southeast corner of that meeting hall to look towards the main hallway. And electrical, lots of potential for denial of the push from Square Skylight. But Nora seems keen in pushing from elsewhere.
This sounded like a mag dump from Ray as he was on rappel just by the front door, and Waka with a toss onto the castle barricade, manages to blow it open. Once again using one of those frag grenades. And
was it a castle barricade?
It honestly, I'm second guessing myself. It looked like a normal barricade. From my perspective, it looked like a normal barricade.
I think it was a normal barricade. Usually you get the red ring, so I'm curious that he used the nade there.
I mean, I'm not entirely certain. From my perspective, I wanted to say castle barricade because I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt that you're not gonna probably nade just a standard barricade when you can just shoot it, unless you're expecting somebody to possibly be there and jump out on you. I'm not sure, but. Here you have the castle playing close, and there's Waka. He's going to take out a castle barricade. This one we know for sure was indeed a castle barricade. Yes. It will be the protection the cameraman was sitting behind, who will now go prone, and look at that. He's going to be marked down, and cameraman will flee, and oh, Waka coming so close. He's going to do a tiny bit of damage to castle, but he will seek the protection of that impregnable wall. He'll hit the deck, and now, because he's in there, it's going to force Astro off. Both the exothermic charges used upstairs. This is not a CEO take. They're taking CEO, but the site is below, down on Tellers and Archives. First E1D will be used with Papilia in sight, and you can see Yuta's gonna get finished off. Mario doing exactly what you expect him to do, and Waka grabbing cameraman, trying to keep this even. Mario felled by Rengo. Oh, a second from the smoke inside of the site. Absolutely uncontested. JJ takes Mad down. Super Astro living up to his name as Ray falls, and now Astro trying to get back to site. Waka is above. He'll have to give some covering fire for JJ, the Thermite holding on to that diffuser.
So, 3 loss for both sides, but upstairs control in favor of Nora. Astro's pushing up. He wants to contest this. It's very dangerous, but from below, Moringa takes down Waka, leaving just JJ. And he knows where the smoke is playing. He can come in here with a little bit of information, but the gas canisters are hurting his ingress, and Astro will shut him down. FaZe take the round and put us to match point.
Just a good volley there, and I think that what we're seeing out of the Lion play from Nora Rengo, at least so far, is that they frag very well with Lion in the cage. They don't need a Lion for the way that they play. Their aggressiveness, their ability to entry so successfully, they could just bulldoze their way in and smash through Rogue and consistently win. Now, I mean, yesterday we may have said that a part of it was that some players might have been missing shots that were needed to be made to stop them, and I mean that was on both sides of the team. Both of these teams are so accurate today, and we're not seeing any major whiffs. We're not seeing any executions that are being done because somebody didn't line up their shots first and foremost.
I think that's really one of the best things about this match so far, is it just seems like whenever someone commits to doing something, you know, as long as it's, let's just say that they're not making any egregious mistakes, either team, and I love seeing that, because we have seen many times before where it's really not the case. There's many opportunities to mess up in this level of play.
I mean, not that you want to call out a specific person or a specific way that something happens, but the only glaring mistake that sticks in my mind was that 1v3 with Waka left.
Yeah.
Yuna taking, Yuna pushing up into Waka rather than backing up to try and protect Mav, or even having the Thermite, who I believe was still alive if I remember correctly, also be there. Well, that was a mistake, and that cost them a round.
And to be fair, it was also off the backs. You know, we can't place it all at Yuna's feet. It was also off the backs of many other mistakes that FaZe had made previously in the round, in terms of just time management, in terms of finding the right angles, hitting your lifeline shots. I mean, many mistakes led to that moment. But that was one round, and I think, you know, overall, you know, if we're pointing a finger at Nora, we could say their first baseman defense, their operator selection was terrible, and other than that.
Yes, so, okay, that was a big mistake from Nora Rengo. Yeah, that first round, having the only C4 that you have on the stairs, having your smoke on the stairs, having both of them die immediately. I
feel like we're just
maybe not the best choices there.
We're just gonna find more mistakes. Let's get into the now.
They need to go to the Pain Gaming school of bring 4 C4s to the basement that we saw in Latin America this season. 4 damn C4s, and you know what? I think they got kills on at least 3 of them, if I remember correctly. Yeah,
we've actually seen when people put an emphasis on those C4s, it usually works out for the better. 9 times out of 10, whenever you focus on it intensely.
Yeah. So, Michael, we're on match point here. Nora Rengo's made one adjustment. Marry off of the Ash onto the Twitch. Cuts some speed down for a pretty good gun. But that's really it. They're going to be bringing the same tools to this fight. Back upstairs to CEO is CCTV downstairs, and Teller's archives on that main floor are locked. Could have gone for open area, but it has not been a site that we have really seen much of this weekend. It has fallen out of favor in Pro League as well. So what you're going to do with the CEO is you're going to do exactly what JJ is doing. This is what they did on Tellers and Archives as well, which is you're going to get both of those panels that lead into the CEO office, and you're going to back up. And this isn't really going to give you that much control. All it does is push you back as a defender. And of course, you're going to sit in areas where usually you have walls that can't be shot through. Moringa, however, is very vulnerable there. He's at a wall that is totally penetrable.
I hear a lot of you guys who've been watching CG Sports for a long time wondering why is there no impact tricking over the wall to deny the thermite charges? Well, that is because Nora is so diligent on those north windows. Waka, who's been on Repel, has been doing a lot of damage from there, and he's going to take down Astro from elsewhere this time around. EE1D will detonate, and that forces Moringa to stand still, and JJ will finish him off because of that. Now, cameraman trying to push his way up, but he's lost half of his HP. Mav in the Mira corner. Yuna Mira himself will take down Papilla with a wide peek towards the square skylight.
The only worrisome issue is that cameraman is downstairs as the castle. That's not necessarily where you want to be. He will have to get back to site and assess if there's a flank watch. Now, because Nora Rengo has the advantage, which will now grow as JJ picks up a kill. Mav is there to eliminate Waka, but Mav is alone on site. Plant going down from JJ right now. No coverage whatsoever from FaZe. Cameraman trying to get back to site. Planter successful, and FaZe Clan have their work cut out for them. It's a 3v2 with FaZe on match point. Cameraman looking to see if there's one by the bushes. Just playing behind the wall. Looks the wrong way, and he could end up paying for it. That's Mariu, who could jump on a very easy 2-kill here. The gatekeeper and the guardian of the diffuser for the time being. Mav will jump out, and it'll be cameraman first with Mav there, and Mariu, no, won't get that far. Mav will cut him down, and there's still 2 left. But Mav knows that he might have to go for a run out. Diffuser just under half. Time is not on his side, and Nora Rengo in excellent position. Waiting to see if anybody on Repel. Mav will start and go for the jump out, but Raisel's there, and Nora Rengo stays alive. Will push us to the final round of regulation, and we will once again go to match point for FaZe. This was a much needed round for Nora Rengo.
A big part of that is how efficiently they figure out the objective and execute onto it. They knew they wanted to open up the square skylight walls, the CEO walls, as they're often referred to as, into the A-bomb site, and it was done so fast in the round. Again, the impact tricking was denied outright because of the repel from Waka on those north windows, and the cover, not just the repel, but the cover from Raisil, who's standing outside in the main street, just waiting for a run out from one of the FaZe clan. And it didn't come because FaZe is aware of this, and they're not gonna waste any lives on such a foolhardy attempt at denying that that thermite charge. But because they cannot deny the thermite charge, they have to play so much farther back in the site, and it leaves you exposed and open to the whims of Nora Rengo, who has been using their control very well. Last time we saw Nora in that position, they died, they lost the round, and it was all thanks to Una C4. This time, Una C4 did not land where it needed to, because the diffuse plant was not the main focus for Nora. They knew they needed control before they could go for that.
And one of the best things that FaZe has been doing is keeping Astro and just letting him loose and keeping him alive for the time being. Go back to the very first video, Nora Rengo saying that they struggle with the unpredictable. When things go according to plan, they feel that that routine strongly benefits them. Well, when you have Astro who is incredibly wild and just flies around the map, killing people as he sees fit. It's obviously been a burr under the saddle of Nora Rengo.
Yeah.
Now, they killed Astro almost immediately the moment they got into the building, and that means that Nora Rengo, #1, can now stick 1 of the remaining 5 on permanent flank watch. And 2, it also silences the best member of FaZe in this matchup and one of their best assets, which is the fact that Nora Rengo need to drone out a massive map. They need to commit somebody to flank watch when they might not have the bodies to do so. And you've got an incredible gun that will be able to just devour you if he sees an opportunity. So FaZe Clan's opportunity to lock this one out, if I can use that word again, will rest on Astro staying alive until the dying parts of this round. If he gets picked early, that will bode very well for Nora Rengo to send us to overtime.
You can hear the crowd trying to amp up their team, and in case you're wondering, that's FaZe Clan, Brazilian crowd, Brazilian team, and I think the favorites for a lot of people. But Nora are just potentially two minutes away from bringing this to overtime and giving themselves another chance. Well, so far, this has been a very much an even affair, though definitely favoring the defenders, however slightly, favoring them. Which means FaZe Clan are in a great position to end this. I'll also say that the last time that FaZe went to the basement, they were successful. We've only seen 1 attempt from them so far, so that could change. Small sample size means it's not too reliable. A big thing to note, and as was mentioned during the ban phase, and as you can see in the top left of your screen, Bana is banned, which means that Maverick will be brought so that more of the drop downs can be opened. But he's definitely not very efficient, and that's your plan. Drop down in server opened up, which means that server control is conceded by FaZe. The right call, as they only need to delay for 1 more minute.
And that's it. It's been 2 seconds. You've got the hatch control that you need. Waka is going to have to try and get his own hatch control underway. And there you go, seeing him expend as much of that blowtorch, breaching torch, but he doesn't have that much left, and he is in very much danger of expending all of it. Now, the last time that this attack happened from Nora Rengo was Mav basically quarterbacking the whole thing, playing inside of Vault, or Gold as it's better known as, just able to call all that information about the push. Nora Rengo might actually be out of exothermic charges, which will mean that Mav is going to be in an even better position here because he'll just continuously give this information, and Nora Rengo's going to have to funnel in through a tiny doorway, which means that 1C4 can collect not 1, not 2, but possibly 3 kills, depending on where they are, and those toxic babes from the smoke are going to be incredibly powerful. Only 20 seconds left. FaZe looking for an answer to put this one away and move us on to Border as our second matchup. Dying moments, everybody's still alive. We are going to witness absolute Armageddon here. Moringa diving through the smoke. He'll stop for just a second, and the killing needs to begin. He pulls out the shotgun, knowing that it's close range engagements. He'll get shut down from Mariu coverage as the plant goes down. Waka is also there, but Mav, the double C4! There's no coverage whatsoever, out of time! And FaZe will be 1 map away from the grand finals.
And that's what happens when you leave it to the last seconds of the round before you start planting that diffuser. I mean, we saw it before with Nora when they managed to get a clutch. Waka shooting the diffuse planter and a CEO defense and winning the round off time alone in a 1 versus 3. You just can't let it happen. You can't let the round get so close to being over, especially not in a 5 versus 5. Nora making the massive mistake of being too cautious there in that last attacking round. It will cost them the first map, but not the series.
Karma comes back in full force.